We're talking today to Don McLean. A 50th anniversary edition of American Pie is out. It's with home free, and there is a video version that's coming as well. And of course, the day the music died is February 3rd, which is the day after this interview is being recorded. So there's a timeliness to this. First question for you is, how did you learn about the group Home Free?
Well, they contacted us. They were doing some other projects with some people that my manager represents, and he suggested that they should do American Pie, that there was a big anniversary year coming up, and they hadn't thought of that, but they liked the idea a lot, and they jumped on it, and they made a very good a cappella version of the song, which their people like, from what we can tell. They have a large following on Facebook and all the other social media, and a lot of YouTube downloads and all that. So it's introduced the song, I think, to a whole different audience.
You are if I'm hearing it right, you're at like the beginning and then the breakdown near the end. That's your voice amongst all of the voices on that song, correct?
Yes, I sing the front part and the back part, the end and the end.
Okay. How did that? Did it work as simple as what did they have their recording complete, sent it to you, and how did the mixing of that come about?
Well, they had me sing the whole thing, and I guess they wanted to cover themselves somehow, or maybe they wanted to see that the guys copied how I sing it. Mm-hmm. So each of them did a verse in the middle, the 4 verses. And I guess the bass man didn't do a verse, and they each more or less copied the way I sing the song on the original recording, and then I sang the front and the end, and the choruses also.
It sounds really well mixed together. If I didn't know any better, I would think you were all in, quote unquote, of the same room, or at least the same studio, all putting it together. It blends really nicely.
Yeah, they know what they're doing. That's why they're successful. They do good work, and they know what they're doing vocally and harmonically, and their producer knows how to make records, and they've made a pretty nice video, I guess. People will like. I don't really know about videos. The last video I made was for an album I made called Headroom, which I thought was a really good video. But I don't know. Videos have kind of faded away. I don't see them as being prominent as they once were. I don't really know what's going on. It seems like social networking and Facebook and all that, I think that's probably how Ed Sheeran made his career, isn't it? With that kind of thing, getting an enormous number of followers.
You have the 50th anniversary planned 2021 World Tour for this year.
Fingers crossed.
Yeah,
we'll see.
Exactly, which kind of ties to something related to this and what I've been reading in the press releases. It's helping to promote the National Independent Venue Association, and it just so happens here in Eau Claire, we have a member of that. Pablo Center is a fairly new performing arts center, opened back in 2018. It's a really, really, really nice place, and but it's essentially been shut down. Yeah. So
I know it's heartbreaking. It really is, because we've lived in a civilization where people were getting together as a norm. We like to be with each other. Mm-hmm. We like to have a group together and get excited over an act. It's all been taken away from us, and I really don't know when it's going to be safe enough. I think I would really recommend, if I were king, that we go back to live performing again, and that we have half the number of people in the room as it will hold. So if it's a 1,000-seater, you can have 500 people seated apart from one another, and charge more for the ticket, and let's get on with it.
Mm-hmm. That would
because they need people in the room. They need people to come through the front door and buy popcorn or whatever they do.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we've been dealing with that here, where we're trying to figure how do these places find other forms of revenue or other activities, and so they'll have maybe a thing in the lobby area or something like that. And I'm thinking of this one place, but I've heard of other ones kind of doing something similar, and it's all just some way to get something connected. So
yeah, it's really sad. It really is.
Right.
It's like, because the music business, is based on enthusiasm and building enthusiasm, and more people coming until you're in stadium situation. That's the idea of everything building. And this is an incredible groove killer because you can't build. And there are acts that were on the verge of being in the big time rock and roll acts that have had their momentum completely screwed. I mean, they got to start like over, and they're a little bit older. They've worked 10 years maybe to get to this point, and they were just about to break, and all of a sudden this happens, and people start forgetting about the group. The momentum goes. You've got to have that constantly making that wheel turn and making the momentum happen. And it's all a rhythm thing and a timing thing, and there's nothing going on. And then the venues gradually die.
Mm-hmm.
They can't hang on. They can't pay the mortgage. They can't pay the heating bill. They can't pay whatever bills they have to pay, the taxes. And they say, look, they put their hands up and say, I can't do this,
Yeah. What could a person who's listening to this right now or listens to the new version of American Pie, I know they can donate to NIVA, N-I-V-A, they can donate, but what else could they do? I know the Save Our Stages Act is moving along, but
I think communities can take, for example, your new venue. They can certainly raise money to at least keep it solvent until this thing is figured out, and I don't think it'll be that much longer. And I think they will have half houses in these places and a higher ticket price, and I think people will be glad to pay it just to hear live music again.
Mm-hmm. The song itself, obviously the quote, the day the music died, relating to what happened on February 3rd, 62 years ago. Interestingly, there happens to be another tie to the city, to my hometown, the city right here, in that tour happened to have one of its final performances. It was like, I'm blanking, and I should know, about 3 or 4 days prior, had a tour stop in Eau Claire, the old Fournier's Ballroom, which was like the main venue back in the 50s or so. It's long gone now. But it was on the tour schedule right before that. That day is obviously iconic. That's why we're noting it 62 years later. How do you think it relates to today's music scene, those who are coming up now? How does it relate to younger people who obviously are several generations removed from the significance of that event?
Well, you don't create a legend unless the legend has the music. I mean, you wouldn't have had the horrible effects of Elvis Presley's death if Elvis Presley hadn't been who he was and hadn't made the music he did and touched people the way he did. So unfortunately, in order to have a legend like this, you have to have an untimely death of a very important artist who's been touching people very deeply. And I'd say recently maybe Prince would qualify for that. That he suddenly died, and he's reached so many people, and he's a very important artist. Certainly John Lennon and like that. But to sacrifice the most talented people in order to make a legend is sort of a waste. I prefer that they live to be old, like Sinatra or like Ray Charles or Bob Dylan, and spent many years on the road letting people hear them before they leave the planet. And so, I don't see the artists today with the repertoire that would qualify them, even if they died young or old, to be remembered in the way someone like Buddy Holly is, because it's a poignant death, but he probably has 70 or 60 tracks that are all hits, every one of them.
Mm-hmm. Of current acts, if you can name either an artist or artists or song or songs that come even close or closest to longevity of potentially being remembered 50 years down the road, are there any that jump out that are relatively recent? None at all.
Not to me. I mean, I'm too old. It's not my time. It's not my scene. It's not my music. I've got no business commenting on it. I know what I know, and I don't know what another generation knows. I just really don't feel competent in saying. Every now and then some little something will pop up, and I'll say that's kind of cute or that's kind of nice, but it doesn't have the identity that a real song has. And I think there's a lot of that around, so we know what real songs are. I mean, it's always they're everywhere all the time. But I mean, I went to see the Beach Boys out here in California at the McLean Theater, and they're a generation older than I am, and their audience is on walkers and wheelchairs and stuff. I mean, it's great. They were terrific. They've got some of the children of some of them are in the group now, and it's going to go on forever. Just like the arrangements of Count Basie or something like that. The Beach Boys are going to go on forever, but the audience is definitely out to pasture for sure.
Of all of the songs that you've done, is there, this is kind of like a two-part question all in one, but is there a song of yours that you wish could be covered by a particular artist? That you're like, I wish so-and-so would do a version of this because I think they would sound really good doing that. I like their tone, I like their approach, et cetera, et cetera. Is there any that you've kind of fantasized about?
Well, I would like to see Drake or one of those really good rappers do the song I wrote called Prime Time, which is about America as a game show. And the chorus is, this is life, this is prime time, this is living in the USA, this is life, this is prime time, this is living the American way. And it's really the story of what's going on right now. Everything is virtual reality through the television. And that the game show is going on at the same time. You have to hear the song to understand it. But it's a rock and roll song, and they could rap in the middle. Any really good rap singer could do this, and then hit that chorus and sing that chorus. Because one of the things I think is lacking from what I hear, and I have a very young girlfriend who plays all this stuff all the time, is that there's never any release from the rhythm section. So, if it went, this is life, prime time, this is living in the USA, well, this is life, prime time, living the American way, it goes back to rapping again, and the thing is completely free form, whatever the artist wanted to do. I think that would be very successful for somebody, and it'd also be very current, and it'd also be intelligent.
Last question for you. What is the most meaningful, most special line of American Pie to you to this day, 50 years on?
I like the verse, there we were all in one place, a generation lost in space with no time left to start again.
There is so much resonance to this, and I've been listening through the lyrics in my life and pondering what does this all mean, and so many have done that, and it's an honor to get to talk to the person that wrote it, Don McLean.
Well, I just want to say to my audience out there, young people out there, don't be disheartened by what's going on. We'll get through this. We'll learn lessons from it, but there's no going back. Every day is a miracle. In fact, I wrote a song called Every Day is a Miracle, and it is. Make the most out of it, regardless of how you feel. Forget about how you feel and do something important for somebody else or for yourself. And it'll all add up, and when this thing is over, you'll be glad you did that.
Words to the wise. Thank you very much for that. Don McLean with Home Free, the new version of American Pie. Give it a listen. We hope to see you out on the road at some point, hopefully relatively soon. Thank you so much for taking time to chat today.
And good luck to the venue.